Presentation.
Hello. I'm Amber, and I'm excited to have you join our auditory journey. During this session, I'll be sharing a bit about my personal life. Do pay attention and gauge how much you're able to grasp. As I mentioned earlier, my name's Amber. May I know yours? I'm currently 30. And you, how many candles were on your last birthday cake? I hail from the sunny shores of Miami, but have made New York my home. I've a fondness for both cities, the energy of New York and the vibes of Miami. Where's your hometown? Ever visited the Big Apple? I reside in a rented apartment here in New York. It might be on the smaller side, but it's cozy and I absolutely adore it. Friends often compliment my tastefully decorated space. What's even better is the proximity to a park and my workplace. Professionally, I shoulder managerial responsibilities in a renowned firm. My days are usually packed and start quite early, but the thrill of the job keeps me going. Is your job something you're passionate about? How about your family? Got any youngsters running around? I've yet to start a family of my own, but am blessed with a large one. I have two protective brothers, Ian and Jason, and a sweet sister named Amy. Age-wise, Amy, at 23, is the youngest of us. Ian, the eldest, is 32, and Jason is catching up at 28. Even though we're miles apart, Amy in Chicago, Ian in Philadelphia, and Jason soaking up the sun in LA, our bond remains unbreakable.
I like.
I'm Alex. In this segment, we'll cover essential phrases you might use when discussing personal details. Introducing yourself is straightforward. Instead of, my name is Alex, you could use, I go by Alex. Another variant is, I'm called Alex. Want to know someone's name? Pose the question, may I know your name? Share your origin with phrases like, I hail from Spain or I originate from Germany. Other examples include, Australia is my home, I was born in Canada, or Russia is where I grew up. Curious about someone else's roots? Ask, which country do you call home? Possible replies might be, I belong to England or my roots are in the United States. Language proficiency can be expressed with, English is one of the languages I know. Other examples are, I'm fluent in German or my language repertoire includes both Russian and French. If there are languages you aren't familiar with, mention it like, I haven't learned Chinese or Japanese isn't in my language set. Discussing professions? In place of, what do you do in life, consider asking, what's your profession? Responses can range from, I'm associated with this company, to, teaching is my calling, or, my days are filled with managing tasks. Diving into hobbies, instead of, what do you like to do, ponder, what are your favorite pastimes? Share your interests with, cooking captivates me, reading is my escape, or cycling rejuvenates me. Talking about preferences? I have a thing for quality films, or summertime always lifts my spirits are good substitutes. On the contrary, to express dislikes, consider, chilly weather isn't my cup of tea, or early alarms are a bit of a pet peeve for me. To reinforce, let's recap the variants. Take a moment after each to practice. I go by Alex. I'm called Alex. May I know your name? I hail from Spain, Australia is my home. Which country do you call home? My roots are in England. English is one of the languages I know, I'm fluent in German. I haven't learned Chinese. What's your profession? Teaching is my calling. What are your favorite pastimes? Cooking captivates me. I have a thing for quality films. Summertime always lifts my spirits. Chilly weather isn't my cup of tea. Early alarms are a bit of a pet peeve for me.
Friends.
Hello. My name's Amber, and I'd love for you to join our auditory journey. In this session, I'll share some details about my life. Pay attention, and let's see how much you can follow. As you might recall, I'm in my 30s and New York is my home. The city holds a special place in my heart, primarily because of the friends I've made. Speaking of friends, how vast is your circle? For me, there are two people I'd call my closest friends. Sophie is one of them. A 25-year-old Parisian, she relocated from France to the US. Though she's currently pursuing her studies in New York, the city's vastness means she's quite a distance from my place. Nonetheless, our weekends often intertwine, either catching the latest film or savoring meals in cozy eateries. Then there's Greg. We've shared a friendship for half a decade, with our professional lives intertwining. Originally from Montreal, he's now a fellow New Yorker. He's quite enchanted by the city, appreciating its cultural hubs like museums and its vast dining scene. Having grown up in Canada, he's fluent in both English and French. I'm curious, who do you consider your closest confidant? How often do you two hang out? And what activities define your meetups? Though both Sophie and Greg converse in French, our common tongue is English. While I can communicate in Spanish too, French still eludes me. Regardless, it sounds melodious to my ears. How about you? Are you well-versed in English? Or perhaps French? Maybe even Spanish? The allure of exploration calls to many. Are you bitten by the travel bug? Journeying to new places invigorates me, often opting to embark solo. While France remains unchecked on my list, Sophie insists I should rectify that. I've stamped my passport in Canada, Mexico, and Spain. Are any of these destinations familiar to you?
Being polite while traveling.
I'm Amber, and thanks for tuning into our auditory journey. In this session, I'll shed some light on the nuances of politeness while traveling. Pay attention, and let's test how much you can grasp. Are you fond of exploring new places? I sure am. If wanderlust stirs your soul, just like it does mine, then this discourse will pique your interest. Journeying across borders, you'll soon realize that while cultures vary, the essence of courtesy remains universal. No matter where you are, whether at home or thousands of miles away, showing respect is fundamental. Universally recognized gestures like greeting with a good evening, or bidding goodbye, never go amiss. Familiarizing yourself with phrases like "excuse me" and "I'm sorry" is a traveler's boon. They're invaluable tools in your communication toolkit, especially while navigating unfamiliar territories. Take, for instance, drawing someone's attention with an "excuse me," or expressing your inability with an "I'm sorry." But I reckon these aren't novelties to you, are they? The magic words "please" and "thank you" are equally essential. Expressing a desire with "I'd like a cup of coffee," please feels more refined than a mere "I want a cup of coffee." Doesn't adding a "please" just elevate the conversation? This sentiment extends to requests like the check, "Please, yes, please," or "Could you repeat that, please?" That last one is especially handy if you missed out on something in the conversation. In situations where speech pace becomes a barrier, gently prompt, "Could you speak more slowly, please?" From personal experiences, while Americans might commence conversations at a moderated pace, they often revert to their usual swift cadence. Should this arise, a gentle reminder might help. But if that fails? Here's a pro tip: focus on the familiar words within the conversation, and pair them with the context. Often, you can infer the broader message. Pretty neat strategy, right? Steering back, we discussed the significance of "please" and "thank you," which might be basics for most. Now, here's something to ponder. The response to "how are you" varies across regions. In Anglophone countries, expect succinct replies like "I'm fine, thanks, and you?" Here, the query is more a courtesy than an in-depth wellness check. But elsewhere, be prepared for earnest answers. These could range from upbeat affirmations to candid reflections on one's day. Would you appreciate a brief, polite response or cherish genuine revelations? Regardless of your preference, bear in mind, while interacting across cultures, seemingly straightforward expressions can encapsulate unique sentiments. By being empathetic and open-minded, fostering connections becomes a breeze. Safe travels.
My friends.
I'm Alex. Dive into this auditory journey with me. Today, we'll explore the essence of friendships. Ensure you're tuned in, and let's evaluate your comprehension. It's shaping up to be a splendid day. I've extended an invite to a few buddies to drop by my place. So post-work, my mates will be around, and we've planned to indulge in tea complemented with delicious cake. Oops, almost let it slip my mind. I must dash to the local bakery to fetch a cake since baking one wasn't feasible today. Right, back to my evening plans. Over our tea and cake session, we'll be reminiscing and catching up, sharing the tales of our days gone by. Given my hectic schedule, our meets had become sparse, and I'm genuinely elated for tonight's reunion. I've a hunch it's going to be a blast. With an evening of camaraderie ahead, I felt it apt to delve into the topic of friendships. Ponder this: who earns the title of a friend? My professional life constantly ushers in new faces. While interactions are cordial and harmonious, labeling everyone as friends wouldn't be accurate. Most are pleasant colleagues, with our discussions skirting work or casual topics, seldom veering into personal terrains. It's a mutual sentiment. Personal intricacies are usually off the table. However, should anyone approach me seeking guidance or sharing a personal conundrum, my ears are all theirs, ready to assist. On the flip side, for my challenges, I turn to my true friends. While I'm acquainted with numerous delightful individuals, my circle of genuine friends remains exclusive. They're the ones I lean on for heart-to-hearts, be it celebratory moments or challenges. Reflecting upon it, I reckon I've a handful of cherished buddies, with only a select few I'd tag as confidants. Time has nurtured these bonds, ensuring they stand robust against all odds. In friendships, it isn't about quantity but the quality. What about you? Do you have a bustling friend list or just a select few confidants? An observation I've made is that most of my pals are around my age bracket. Several friendships have roots tracing back to school, sustaining through the sands of time. While work has fostered some profound connections, striking new bonds in adulthood seems more challenging. Could it be that as we venture into our careers, our bandwidth for fresh relationships narrows? Forming meaningful connections demands patience and mutual effort. Shared interests and experiences form the foundation of long-lasting friendships. So, how do you foster new bonds? And how do you nurture these relationships? What activities do you relish with your buddies?
Good movies, bad movies.
I'm Amber. Join me on this journey where I share some insights about my movie preferences. Tune in and gauge your comprehension. Let's kick things off with a question. Do you have a preference between movies and TV shows? Personally, I appreciate both. Films captivate me with their concise yet impactful narratives, whereas the extended format of TV shows allows me to dive deeper into the character's world. Truth be told, I don't dedicate much time to television. Consequently, TV series often take a back seat due to their extended nature. So, it's fair to say, I tend to gravitate more towards movies. What about you? Do you have specific genres that pique your interest? My taste in films is quite diverse. Romantic comedies are my go-to. Add a touch of fantasy, especially with a sprinkle of romance, and I'm sold. Historical movies also resonate with me, even more so if there's an underlying love narrative. You might have guessed by now that I have a soft spot for romantic tales. However, I've a penchant for cheerful romantic narratives. Tragic love stories and intense dramas aren't really my cup of tea. And action films? They make the cut only if interlaced with compelling romance. As for horror films, let's just say they're a strict no-go for me. Their appeal eludes me. How about you? Any specific genres that you adore or steer clear of? As for my all-time favorite, it's the Chinese cinematic gem, The Hero. Despite its melancholic undertone, the allure of Asian movies, especially those that offer a fresh narrative perspective, is irresistible. Variety keeps the cinematic experience intriguing. Hence, while I indulge in mainstream Hollywood productions, lesser-known movies also find a place on my watch list. How often do you indulge in a cinematic experience at theaters? Personally, my visits are sporadic, perhaps 2 or 3 outings annually. I mostly stream movies online. However, an exceptional film might lure me to the big screen. Film festivals are another favorite, even though the offerings can be avant-garde and diverge from mainstream tastes. But their unique essence is what makes them stand out. A memorable cinema experience was when I attended a screening of a renowned Chinese action film at a festival. Its late-night slot combined with my exhaustion led to an unintended nap, missing out on the majority of the plot. A rewatch at home was essential. So, what's on your agenda tonight? A cozy movie night at home or perhaps a trip to the cinema? As for me, I'll most likely settle into a heartwarming romantic flick.
If you want more, subscribe. See my other movies.